State's going to win that game because they're a top 25 team. And when you got a coaching change, things just kind of get shaken up a little bit.
Yeah, no debate there. I'm going Boise State as well. I think Peterson got burned out, needs a year or two to regroup, and then he'll be back at it someplace.
Yeah, kind of like Urban Meyer, maybe, huh?
Well, you could say that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay, next bowl game is these are all on December 21st, a week from Saturday. App State at UAB. Normally, I'd pick App State, but they're similar to what we just talked about with Washington and Florida Atlantic. Their coach Eli Drinkwater has gone to Missouri. Good luck there. You're in the SEC, you're not going to win there at Missouri. App State is the better team, but I'll pick UAB.
Yeah, I will too.
UAB has a great coach there too.
Oh, Bill Clark, are you kidding? With the
Yeah.
job he's done over there after the program went into a 2-year hiatus, and now there are a lot of things to look up at UAB. They're building a brand new stadium in a couple of years in downtown that'll seat about 45,000. So I'll go with the Blazers on this one.
Oh, is that right? Will they demolish Legion Field?
Nope,
or?
not at all. No, they're going to keep it
okay.
up there. It's a historical place.
They just want a smaller stadium for their crowd. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, smaller stadium, but a brand new stadium. I hear Legion Field isn't in the best of shape either. So it's a move that they've been able to do, and the football program's in good shape over at UAB for sure.
Yeah. Okay, December 23rd. It's NFL Sunday, so that's why there aren't many bowl games. Central Florida, Marshall. Okay, Central Florida is going to rout Marshall. Central Florida is just, again, I'm talking about the AAC being a much tougher conference than it gets credit for. So I would expect UCF to beat Marshall pretty handily.
Yeah, no debate there. I'll go with Central Florida, even though I still laugh at them to this day about their championship that they gave themselves a few years ago. Please.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm with you. I'll go with Central Florida in this one.
And then on Christmas Eve, BYU is at Hawaii in what traditionally is called the Aloha Bowl. It changes names too. That's a real interesting matchup because when Hawaii and BYU were both in the old Western Athletic Conference, they used to have battles. They were real rivals. Hawaii wanted to beat BYU more than any other team. Probably a lot of that is because the Mormon culture recruits a lot of Mormon culture and religion recruits a lot of Polynesian athletes. So a lot of athletes leave Hawaii for BYU. And with the year that the BYU quarterback, Ty, I'm drawing a blank here. Help me out. The guy who won the Heisman Trophy.
Ty Detmer?
Ty Detmer. The year he won the Heisman, they went out to Hawaii late in the year, and they got killed. And that was a great BYU team. And that's an example of how motivated Hawaii is to beat BYU. I can't say when was the last time they played. You know, they used to play every year.
Right.
And so it's probably hurt the rivalry a little bit, but the old-timers will be enjoying that game.
So who you got?
Oh, I'm picking Hawaii. They'll kill BYU.
Yeah, I'll go with Hawaii as well. No problem.
I saw Hawaii play against Army when I made my trip out to the Maui Invitational for basketball, and then stayed a few more days in Honolulu because I write a lot about Army football. And Hawaii just really has an explosive offense. That's run and shoot offense, and Army just couldn't keep up with their receivers. Army actually played a really good game, and then a couple of turnovers hurt them at the end, and they lost. I think the final score is 52-31, but it was a much closer game. One of the Hawaii touchdowns was a pick six late in the game on a desperation throw. So Hawaii is a very dynamic team.
Okay, well, no debate there. I'm going with the Rainbow Warriors as well.
Yeah. Okay, December 26th, we got two games involving Mid-American Conference teams, and I think they're both overmatched. Louisiana Tech is playing Miami of Ohio, and then Pitt is playing Eastern Michigan. And Eastern Michigan is one of the great revival stories in football. They've always been a distant third to Central Michigan and Western Michigan. among the directional Michigan schools in the MAC. But the coach they have there now has really built the program up and enjoyed a lot of success. I don't know how much higher he can take it, especially because in a state like Michigan, the population is dwindling, and when that happens, that means fewer football prospects. So Pitt is just too much for them.
Well, you know what? Just for the sake of going the other way, I'll go Eastern Michigan. I think there's still a lot of great players in the state of Michigan. I really do. And if Eastern Michigan is winning, I think that's indicative that you can go ahead and find much better prospects at these mid-major schools in the state of Michigan.
Yeah. Okay. December 27th, we got one, two.
Now what was the other game you talked about?
Louisiana Tech and Miami of Ohio.
I'll go Miami of Ohio.
I'll take Louisiana Tech.
Okay.
December 27th, we got 5 games. Good schedule. North Carolina and Temple. That could be a very interesting game. North Carolina has a really good freshman quarterback, and Mac Brown has made a nice comeback at age 67, returning to coaching, kind of similar to Herm Edwards out of Arizona. Temple is still a strong program. They dropped off a little bit this year, but North Carolina is playing with so much energy. I'm gonna take North Carolina. So much energy and optimism.
No doubt about it. Yeah, I'll go with North Carolina. Mac Brown.
Okay. The next bowl is the Pinstripe Bowl in Yankee Stadium. Michigan State and Wake Forest. I never pick against Michigan State, although I'm very nervous about this game because, let me put it this way: if Wake Forest and Michigan State had played earlier in the year, Wake Forest would probably beat them. But Wake Forest has suffered a lot of injuries in the second half of the season, and then just Michigan State is they're really struggling. They have to revamp their whole offense next year. So I don't know if they'll score enough points to beat Wake Forest. They'll probably lose, but I'll say I'm picking them.
So who you going with?
Well, I'm gonna say Michigan State, but I recognize that Wake Forest will probably win the game.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Dave Gordon says when we both talk about the fact that we both picked Michigan State against his school.
Yeah, Dave Clawson has done such a good job at Wake Forest. And when people were wondering if Mark D'Antoni at Michigan State was going to step down, Clawson's name was one that was mentioned as a possible Michigan State candidate because he had coached at Bowling Green successfully before he got the Wake Forest job. But Wake Forest has him locked up pretty good. They signed him to a lengthy extension with quite a big buyout last year. And everything he says, he really enjoys coaching at Wake Forest.
Yeah, well, I'm glad Mark D'Antonio got to a bowl game this year, despite the adversity he's had to deal with, for sure.
Yeah, and then the other thing about Wake Forest is the reason that Clawson is optimistic about staying there is they've really upgraded their facilities. They have a lot. The stadium has always been nice, but they've upgraded a lot of their indoor facilities, weight room, and all that stuff. Things you have to attract recruits nowadays, the bells and whistles.
Yeah, well, we were at the stadium, at least I know I was, and I was impressed with our banquet over at NSMA.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's pretty neat stadium for the Demon Deacons.
Okay, next game: Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. I don't like either one of these teams, and I don't like Jimbo Fisher. So just out of spite, I'm going to pick Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I will too. I think. Give Jimbo Fisher another year with the program, and you have a game like this, I'd go his way, but not quite this year. I'm going to go with the Cowboys as well.
It's criminal that guy's making $10 million a year. You think of all the hard work and low pay of high school coaches, and why does Jimbo Fisher deserve $10 million? He should be spreading that money around high school coaches in Texas.
Well, he probably should, but you know what? If Texas A&M was willing to offer him that money, and his job was on the rocks over at FSU, he knew when to get going, and cash the check. And Texas A&M was desperate, so that's why he got paid.
How do you have a bad season at Florida State? Kind of the program kind of falls off under you, and then you get a $10 million contract.
Well, he's a very lucky rich man.
That's right. Okay, USC at Iowa. Interesting. USC, they kept Clay Helton, and a lot of the fans aren't mad about it. USC is one of those schools where they think they should be number one every year, kind of like Texas and the heat that Tom Herman's taken at Texas. Um, what's another school that used to? Oh, Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, another school that used to always be ranked in the top 10, and
Right.
they're not winning like they used to. So Clay Helton got an extension, but I'm going to take Iowa in that game. That's in the San Diego County Credit Union Bowl.
So you're going to go with Iowa over USC?
Yes.
Yeah, I have to go Big Ten there as well. I think it was just too expensive to buy him out. So otherwise, he probably could have been let go. And also, he had to deal with a lot of injuries, so that's why he stayed around as well.
Yeah, when you factor in all the injuries, he really did a good job. They won that big game at Utah, which cost Utah so much with their third string quarterback. So, and then USC's talking a lot about how establishing integrity with all the problems they've had over the years with Reggie Bush and under Pete Carroll and other years at USC, they have a long history of NCAA violations. So they like the integrity that Clay Helton has established there, and they're just hoping that he can win more than he has been.
Well, USC's biggest problem is they let Ed Orgeron go, and how did that work out?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And for the same reason, the fans thought he wasn't a big enough name coach.
Right.
And in the same vein, LSU didn't really want him. They tried to hire Tom Herman. They made Orgeron interim coach. They tried to try Tom Herman, and I think they tried to go after somebody else. So then they finally had to settle on Orgeron, and now look at him.
Yeah, well, I guess it's not so bad to settle once in a while.
It's kind of like baseball, the trade you never made.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you there. So.
Okay, next bowl game is Air Force and Washington State. Air Force, Washington State was kind of up and down all year long. Kind of the luster of Mike Leach being such a kooky guy didn't really translate to wins this year. And Air Force is a pretty strong team. Boise State, I think that was the only conference game they lost was to Boise State. So that's a pretty good team. I'll pick Air Force.
Yeah, I will too. All I can tell you is Gardner Minshew II isn't walking in the door for Washington State.
No.
So I'm with you. I'll go along with you on that one.
Okay, the next day's bowl games is December 28th, Notre Dame and Iowa State. Notre Dame just lost their offensive coordinator, Chip Long. He's leaving, but he hasn't been hired anywhere else yet. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I haven't followed it.
Yeah, I just saw that he was leaving Notre Dame, but so Notre Dame will be going through a little transition there. But Brian Kelly, of course, is a former offensive coordinator, and they're too good for Iowa State, so I think Notre Dame will still win.
Yeah, I'll go with the Irish as well.
Penn State and Memphis. Again, Memphis is one of those schools that lost their coach. Mike Norvell's gone to Florida State. Memphis is a very good team. Like I was mentioning earlier, the American Athletic Conference is better than people give it credit for, and the West Division is deeper than the East Division. Both divisions are very good, but the West Division is even deeper, and Memphis won that division. They beat Navy to win the division, and then they beat Cincinnati in the conference championship game. Memphis against Penn State is a really interesting matchup. It'd be even more interesting if Norvell was there, but since he's not there, I'm going to pick Penn State because they have a very strong team.
Yeah, no. I'm going to go along with you there. Go with Penn State.
Yeah, if Ohio State didn't have such overwhelming talent like Clemson does in the ACC, and this year LSU in the SEC, but most years Alabama, most years Penn State had enough talent to win the Big Ten, but Ohio State just had overwhelming talent this year. Okay, the next round of bowl games, December 30th, Western Kentucky and Western Michigan. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'll take Western Michigan.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna have a little fun with this and go Western Kentucky.
Okay.